Toronto Raptors, without OG Anunoby, without Norman Powell, fall just short to Sacramento. A nice effort in the fourth by the Raps, but the Kings pull it out. 126-124 is your final. Raps record now 7-12. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Raptors Nightcap. Randy Urban alongside Sherman Hamilton, Paul Jones, and Jack Armstrong. Sherman, I'm going to start with you first. Just a tough one there at the end.
Yeah, it was a tough one all around. And again, the Raptors kind of made their bed early in the game with giving up such a high field goal percentage. And Sacramento really didn't feel enough resistance throughout the 3 quarters of the game. Fourth quarter, I thought they came around defensively, forced some turnovers, and got back to who they were. But you're fighting that uphill battle all game long. And, you know, those 2 wide open threes for Fred VanVleet and Kyle Lowry on one possession, you don't make it. It's tough. You're squeezing it, you're aiming it because you need those buckets at that point. But it's just a difficult. And, guys, to me, the possession in that fourth quarter that really broke their back before the free throws was Hassan Whiteside misses the dunk, gets his own rebound, kicks it out to Tyrese Halliburton, and he knocks down a 3, 4-point game. That was a margin they were fighting throughout the rest of the game.
Well, Sherman, I found it interesting because Whiteside's a guy that's a poor free throw shooter too, and a guy that if you foul, you have maybe a 50-50 chance looking at percentages. But, you know, Jack, we always talk about it. When do your best 3-point opportunities come? Off the offensive rebound and a scramble. And I thought Whiteside did a good job pursuing the ball. And Sherman, you're right. The defensive possession doesn't end till you get the rebound.
No, I was just going to say, Jack, Whiteside's just one of those guys that kind of drives you nuts because you feel like he could do this more consistently with more power, you know, more points. But he was a problem all night for the Raptors. Unfortunately, it was against the Raptors.
Well, Bagley and Holmes were kind of ineffective for them. And I thought he did a great job of just he's got such size. You could throw it to the rim to him. He's got a good nose for the ball on the offensive glass. And I thought he did a good job in that regard. And obviously, Baines, you want to play him, but you'd rather go to your smaller unit sometimes. But when you got a guy like Whiteside out there, you got to make a tough decision. But I think the unit that closed for the Raptors, Stanley Johnson, Watanabe, Bembry, VanVleet, Lowry, and then obviously Stanley Johnson at the lead of the game when he banged knees with Fox, they did a great job getting this team back into it. I mean, the Raptors held Sacramento to 22 points in the fourth quarter. And to Sherm's point earlier, you know, where was that defense in the first 3 quarters? Because they really struggled in that regard. That's what they got to dial in. Again, you can say, well, no Norm Powell, no OG Anunoby. I totally get it. But on a night like tonight, more than ever, you need your defense to be really good like we saw in the fourth quarter. So to me, I think that kind of is the crux of the challenge right now.
So then, Sherm, why the discrepancy, right? You give up 30-plus points in the first 3 quarters. You know you have to get after it defensively because you don't have OG Anunoby. You don't have Norm Powell, that firepower off the bench for scoring, at least, to offset the points on the other team. So then why the drop-off defensively?
You know, that's the million-dollar question, Herbs, and I'd be a lot richer if I could really peg that and put that into perspective.
With that suit on, you look like you got the money, though. I would say.
Kind of fake it to make it, brother. You should know the game by now. But I will say this. You know, when you're playing against a team like Sacramento, they're not a good defensive team. You're coming into the game thinking you're going to be able to score at will and you're going to get all the looks you want. And I really thought that they forgot that Sacramento puts so much pressure on your paint because they play at a high pace. De'Aaron Fox is excellent at attacking your paint. Buddy Hield stretches you out. And they become a difficult team to play against if you're just going offense for offense. And the Raptors got caught in that in this game. And to me, it's more about the Raptors looking at themselves and not looking across the court at who they're playing against and saying, how are we going to take the next step as a team? Where do we have to go? And they're searching for consistency on both sides of the basketball. But what we saw against Milwaukee was even though they couldn't score the basketball, they did a good job of maintaining their level of defensive intensity. They've got to get back to that. They've got to figure out if they're going to lose a game at this point of the season, it's got to be because their offense is failing them, not because their defense is failing them. And in this game, through 3 quarters, their defense just wasn't where it needed to be.
Jonesy, one of the positives, though, was the aggression of Pascal Siakam. I felt like he was just a different player tonight. You know, he was putting an emphasis on getting to the rim, 32 points. If you want to nitpick, he missed 4 free throws, which, you know, you lose by 2 are tough in the end, but pretty good game for him.
Yeah, it seemed like he had a different mindset tonight, Randy, and there was a lot made and people talking about how he, was normally getting shots in the restricted area and getting to the rim. And he had a much lower percentage of that this season coming into tonight's game. And it was if somebody told him, listen, man, you got to get the ball inside. This team is not a good team in terms of protecting the paint. He did a great job. I look up, he only took 1 3-point shot. I mean, he was 11 of 20, basically 11 of 19 from inside the arc. So I thought he was very aggressive. I thought he, Jack and Sherman have talked about this before. I thought he simplified the game, tried to get to the basket, tried to play quickly off the catch, and it showed. He had a much better game. You're right, though. When you have that small a margin for error, you can't give anything away. And 3 or 4 free throws. Don't give me all of them. I don't even need all 4. Give me 2. Give them to me at a different time, and maybe it changes the complexion of the game. But I liked what I saw from Pascal tonight. And then at the other end, as Sherm talked about, and Jack and I were talking about on the radio, you can't get caught in, well, my offense is going to keep me in the game. You've got to play defense, and every guy has to do it. 5 guys doing it. It's got to be contagious. It's got to be habitual, or else you're going to get into these shootout games where, you can't rely on your offense.
Jack, just piggyback that a little bit about Pascal. Consistency is what made him an all-star. And, we're getting glimpses of it, but how does he maintain this game every game?
If I had the answer to that question, I'd play the lottery, and you'd never see
as rich as Sherman.
And I'd be sitting on a beach with a little drink with an umbrella in it, and you'd never see me again. That's why coaches don't sleep at night, and to try to figure out how to get to that next gear of habitual consistency that great players have. And I think for Siakam, I think the pace that they're playing at, the style that they're playing at helps him. I do think sometimes this team gets too 3 happy. And, as much as he can shoot the 3 and he's capable of doing that, he needs to be going downhill a little bit more. He needs to get the baskets at the rim. He needs to get baskets at the free throw line. And I think he's at his best when he hits singles, when he hits doubles, and the occasional triple. And I think that's what made him really good, and just out hustling people and out working people. And I saw a lot of that tonight. It's interesting, too, when you make an all-star game and you get a big contract, people start telling you, well, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that. Let the other guys handle that. No, I think, there's a responsibility that comes with the expectation that you need that from him. That's what makes him really good, when he does all those things. So, again, I'm really encouraged with what I saw tonight. Now he's got to carry it over these next 2 games against the same opponent, the Orlando Magic.
And, guys, in this game, Pascal had 32 points. 22 of them came in the paint. That's the kind of basketball you want to see Pascal play. And you mentioned, both Jonesy and Herbs, you mentioned the fact that, the free throw line, he didn't make some crucial free throws, but he got there 14 times.
Yes.
That's a very positive sign to think Pascal is getting to that free throw line 14 times to the 1 3-point attempt. The other thing I just want to add here is, when guys are in the league and they're athletes, and I remember this with Vince Carter, supreme athlete, he wanted to prove to everybody he was more than just an athlete. So he started shooting more jump shots. He started trying to play on the perimeter. Pascal made his mark in this league by being a gazelle, running, beating bigs down the floor, attacking off the dribble, movement, getting into the paint. He's got to get back to the core values of what made him successful and stop trying to think about these other things. Build off your basic building blocks and go from there.
Well,
Can I just tag that for 1 second?
Yeah, I was going to do it too, Jack. Go ahead.
Okay. People get caught up in Spicy P. Give me a break with Spicy P, right? It's kind of your point about Vince Carter. Be the guy that got you where you go. Spicy P don't get the job done. It's Pascal Siakam, your core values. That's what gets it done. Sorry, Jonesy.
No, I was just follow up on what you and Sherm said. Randy, we talked about it in my first point. Half of his shots came in the restricted area in years past. He's had only 25% of his shots this year come in that vein. So tonight, as both Sherm and Jack pointed out, he got back to, well, wait a minute. How did I make my name in this league? Getting shots inside. How did I do that? Running the floor, taking the ball to the goal, playing closer to the basket. I thought, he got himself back to that tonight, and that's why his game was so positive and so productive.
Jack, you got to turn this around now. This is a game that I think they thought they could turn it around for the Raptors. Now you got to regroup for the Magic on Sunday, right?
Well, and you're playing them twice. And, you see a lot of the teams that are around you, the Knicks, the Cavs, the Magic, the Bulls, Miami's even behind you, which is shocking, but they've had a lot of issues. I mean, if you're going to be a playoff team, like you get Orlando twice, and I'm looking at a 7-12 mark, if I'm not mistaken, you got to win these next two games. I mean, 9-12 is better than 8-13 or 7-14. You got to get these two games and come out of this 9-12 and have some mojo again.
Sure, in about 30 seconds left. What do they got to do against the Magic to get that mojo back? Where does it come from?
They got to get off to a better start, Herbs. They've got to be a team that comes out swinging first and really deliver some haymakers early in the game. To me, for the Raptors, I really haven't seen them consistently establish tone in a game. They've got to do that. They've got to be the aggressors. And to me, you can kind of build off of that, but no more of this coming out in the first quarter and being down and giving teams big field goal percentages and 30 and 40 points in a quarter. Get after it right off the jump.
Well, I appreciate you guys doing this. Jonesy, we'll have more time for you next time. But those guys just
all good. All good.
Know how it is.
All good.
All right, next game for the Raptors, Sunday night against the Magic, 7 p.m. tip. See you then.
Thanks for watching. You can click to watch our last episode or to subscribe to the Toronto Raptors YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode.